we will set up the data for RO operations to analyze. We highly recommend that you click on Download Template to ensure that all the information is correct and the way the file is set up so that RO operations can read it. The file name is cleaning_template. You can save it on your computer. And then once you open it, what you'll see are the parameters that we need to run the calculations. Here, the date must be in the following format: first the month, date, and then the year. And the rest of the headers that are in bold are the values that are mandatory. Those that are not are optional. You can, if you wish, to also enter normalization data if you have it calculated already. But if you don't, our operation advisors will calculate it for you. In this example, I'll add a file that I already have ready for 2020 for only one train. Click on Open. And since I already only have one train, I'll select the first train. Since I also have only one pass, I select one, and then I can select the first or the second stage or all stages. In this particular case, the data I have is for the full system. So I click on All. And then I will need to map the fields from the Excel sheet that we just reviewed to our Operations Advisor. So here I will select the column names based on the field that we are on. So here we have the date. Here we'll use the feed flow rate, feed flow. And here we have all the pressure drop across the system or the concentrate pressure. In this system, I have the pressure drop, so I hit differential pressure, feed quality in microsiemens as conductivity, permeate flow rate, feed pressure, permeate quality as conductivity, feed temperature, and permeate pressure. If I had data for the normalization columns, I can select here, select columns, and select the columns with the data. But since I didn't have any data, I cannot select that. So I will allow our operation advisors to do the normalization calculations for me. Once I have all of this ready, I click on Confirm, and then move on to the next section. Here, the reference conditions is very important for normalization data calculations, and then it takes the first row as the reference point. If you have a different set of references, you can enter that information manually, or if you want to use a different row from your data, you can hover here at the top. It says View Data, and your screen will pop up, and you can select which row you want as a reference condition for the normalization. So here, I'll go back to the first row and click on Confirm. The next section here is a default CIP information. And here we are looking at how much acid, caustic, or cleaning solution that you use, which pH is being used, at which temperature, and how much time do you use for soaking. And this will allow for an evaluation to how good or efficient your CIP was. You can also add a recurring CIP or shutdown by clicking on this button here and say OK. And here I can specify the start date and the end date of the CIP. I can also, I'm sorry. To add a recurrent CIP, click on the button here at the top, at the bottom right. Click OK. And since this is a recurring CIP, you have to set the duration between CIPs. In this case, it's 100 days. You can choose between 20 and 180. The duration of the CIP on average, and the same cleaning information we just discussed. Optionally, you can enter manually through a template when the cleanings were actually done. You can do that by downloading the template Once you open the Excel template, you can enter all the information, the start date, the end date, the type of cleaning, and then the rest of the cleaning information we also discussed in terms of quantity, pH, time, and temperature. If you do not enter all this information, RO Operations Advisor will use an algorithm to detect when the cleanings were done. This is very important to note that as you enter information into RO Operations Advisor, there is a data cleaning loop or algorithm that goes into play. It will detect any rows of missing information or incongruent information. For example, if the feed flow is much lower than the permeate flow, the concentrate flow, it will detect that as an erroneous data set and will erase it from the imported data. So there is a cleaning process in terms of the data that you entered. This is to ensure that the data being used for analysis is when the system is operational and stable, and not during a startup shutdown of the system or just when the system is not operating. Once I've entered all this information, I can click on Proceed to Analysis.